Hello and welcome back to Texas Nation. Once again, I'm Grant Levinson. I'm sitting here with Nathan Castro and Aaron Wolf. And we're just going to jump right into our NFL draft segment. Folks, how are y'all doing?
Doing great, man. Ready to talk some sports?
Aaron?
Doing good.
Awesome. All right, guys, let's just jump right into the number one topic. Who's going to be number one? Nathan?
Sam Bradford, hands down. I mean, the Rams traded away let Mark Bulger go, and you don't take a player unless it's a quarterback at number one. I mean, unless it's a game changer at another position, it's got to be a quarterback. You got to build your franchise with that guy. And looking at Sam Bradford, despite that injury, he is the best player in this draft by far. And honestly, I would say probably the best quarterback I've seen in probably a couple of years.
All right.
I'm going to take Sue on this one. I do agree with taking a quarterback in the first round. Unfortunately, a lot of these teams don't need quarterbacks. But with Sue being such a good defensive end, I think it's a great opportunity to take a defensive end in his position. He can really do some damage and be a great foundation to a good team in the future.
Many people do find that Sue is probably the most NFL-ready player, at least in this year's draft. Now, speaking of another NFL-ready player, I want to talk about probably the most talented guy who didn't really get to finish out his season this past year, Dez Bryant. Now, we all know he had that NCAA scandal where he went to Deion Sanders' house to have dinner, quote unquote. We all know that he got suspended for that, wasn't allowed to finish out the rest of his season. Many people thought that was going to affect him, but we all saw his pro day that he held back at home in Lufkin in Texas. It looked phenomenal, ran phenomenal. He's going to be a phenomenal player. Now, where do y'all see him going? What team fits him best?
Well, I tell you what, these receivers, it's always hard because they have so much talent, but yet the attitude's not there, and that's what Dez Bryant is. Right. But I see Dez Bryant going to Denver with Marshall being out now and in Miami. Dez Bryant is fit for Denver. Josh McDaniels is kind of maybe a little hesitant on this one, but the talented receiver. They don't have a lot of good receivers. They have Stokely and Eddie Royal. They need a game changer, and Dez Bryant could be that guy. And plus, if they want to develop Kyle Orton or Brady Quinn, they need a quarterback like that.
Aaron.
I'm going to have to agree. It's tough to disagree on this one. Unfortunately, I'd like to, but I think Denver is in the position to take Dez Bryant. Unfortunately, Miami already made their switch. I do think Dez Bryant does go to Denver in this one.
And folks, in case you're wondering, or if you haven't heard, the Broncos released Brandon Marshall, and the Dolphins signed him for the richest contract that an NFL receiver has gotten in history. 4 years for $47.5 million, somewhere around $32 million guaranteed. It is record-breaking. The Tuna is doing big things out in Miami.
Yeah, well, hopefully the quarterback can develop.
Hopefully, Chad Henne, see how he does. But I want to talk about one of the major strengths. Now, besides defense, we all know that this is a very defensive-driven draft. But one strength on the offensive side of the ball has got to be offensive tackle. With guys like Russell Okung, Trent Williams, Brian Beluga, Anthony Davis, the teams have a plethora of offensive tackles to choose from. Now, Nathan, I want to get your opinion first. Who do you think is the best offensive tackle in the draft?
Best offensive tackle, I've got to say Russell Okung. I really believe, coming from Oklahoma State, a lot of people look at it. They did run a spread kind of offense, but they were one of the top rushing offenses in college football. On top of that, he's just, he's very talented. At 6'7", I believe 6'7" or 6'6", at 300 pounds. He's a prototypical tackle, and I just feel like he's the best tackle in the draft.
Aaron, what about you?
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Trent Edwards here. Excuse me. He looked really good with Oklahoma. I think he plays under a great coaching system over there, and he's going to be well designed and ready to take, I think, Washington's discipline or Kansas City Chiefs' discipline.
If it was up to me, I'd actually have to disagree with both of y'all. I think Anthony Davis is the most athletic. He might not be the most NFL ready, but I definitely think that he's the best offensive tackle in the draft. He has the most room to work with, and like I said, I think he's the most athletic. Now, another position that's very deep is safeties. We all know Eric Berry's the best safety in the draft. Then probably most people will put Earl Thomas ahead of Taylor Mays. Now, Taylor Mays is probably the most physically gifted athlete ever. He's 6'3", 225, and runs a 4.3 40. I don't know. God must really, really like him because he's just a phenomenal athlete. Now, where do y'all see these guys going? What teams do you think are going to take a risk? Do you think someone's going to take, a top 5 pick with Eric Berry, or do you think it's going to be in top 10? And what about Earl Thomas and Taylor Mays?
Well, first off, I think I see Eric Berry going to Cleveland. If Cleveland does not pull the trigger on this trade for Bradford, I see them helping their secondary and getting Eric Berry, who is an outstanding safety, great physical attributes, as you mentioned, like Taylor Mays. But this guy could be a game changer, kind of like a Palomalu. He's being compared to Palomalu or Ed Reed prototype. But also, too, I see Taylor Mays fitting very well with Philadelphia. Losing Dawkins has really hurt Philadelphia, and Taylor Mays can really solidify that secondary. And then Earl Thomas, I see Earl Thomas going to Pittsburgh. I think he would be a great fit with Troy Polamalu. And Troy Polamalu, he's getting up there, and Earl Thomas can play cornerback or he can play safety, so they can use him in many ways.
That would be good because they do need another cornerback opposite Ike Taylor.
Absolutely.
Aaron, what about you?
Some of it I agree with. Earl Thomas is not going to go to the Cowboys. The Cowboys don't tend to pick up people from Texas. They might pick up Brent Berry or Berry, but it just I don't see Pittsburgh picking up a free safety because they have a lot of trouble obviously with wide receiver right now, that area, and they have some quarterback issues. So it's going to be interesting what they do, but it's tough to say.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is definitely in need of wide receiver. Releasing Santonio Holmes, you have a developing Mike Wallace. You have an over-the-hill Hines Ward. Look for them to pick up someone like Aurelius Ben, maybe. And I don't think he's worth a first-round pick, but if they can let him kind of get deep in the second round, they'll get a great steal with Aurelius Ben there.
They're hurting in the wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Pittsburgh's doing right now. They've gone from the championship caliber team to, oh man,
they really have
the talk of the town. Really.
Well, here you go. One team that was championship caliber, which would be the Steelers. They release Santonio Holmes. Who picks him up? The Jets.
Yeah.
Now the Jets have put themselves in a fantastic position to be Super Bowl contenders. They already were with rookie quarterback Mark Sanchez. They were very, very close, losing to Indianapolis. I think that with this draft and that pickup, they are probably going to be the favorites in the AFC. I think that the Jets are making fantastic moves. But when we come back, we're going to talk about basketball. We're going to talk about baseball when we hit up our roundtable segment. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.